Yeah, good morning everyone. Today I would like to discuss about that one of the important topic in our subject. Uh, there is an hydrological cycle and its component. So earlier we are also discussing in the classroom what is a hydrogeology. So here in the first topic introduction about hydrogeology, and the next one is we are going to be discuss about the what are the parameters of aquifers, types of aquifers. Likewise we are discussing, and it is also very important topic. We need to discuss about the hydrological cycle we are going to be discuss. So if you see this figure here, that components or everything is going to be represented. That means hydrological cycle is nothing but it's a water cycle, in which what is happen, there is a water is going to be revolving from earth surface to the atmosphere and atmosphere to earth surface in a different forms, that we need to discuss today in this session. So here if it is a hydrological cycle is going to be start with that. First one is an evaporation. So I want to define that what is an evaporation. So here the water particles is going to be transferred from liquid state to gaseous state because of sun energy is going to be reflected. And then what is happen, then this liquid particle is going to be evaporated, and finally it's moving to the atmosphere. And finally what is happen, there is a small particles are is going to be formed, and then when it is moving to the highest elevations, the particles are come together because of their charges within that. Then the condensation is going to be takes place. That means what is meant by condensation? The condensation means that particles are comes together, and then finally formation of cloud, we can call it as a condensation. So here not only the water is going to be evaporated from the water bodies, even though from the soil, and even though from the leaves and roots of the tree. So the water is going to be evaporated from the leaves of or roots of tree, we can call evapotranspiration. And then if the soil is going to be evaporated from the soil is also going to be called it is a transpiration only. So likewise we have three components we are discussing till now. So the first one is an evaporation, and next one is an evapotranspiration, and next one is a transpiration. Transpiration is nothing but there is the water is going to be evaporated from the leaves and roots of tree. Generally we think that the more amount of the water is going to be evaporated from the water bodies, but generally here the more amount of the water is going to be evaporated through the transpiration. That means from the leaves of tree through sun energy. And then after these three evaporation is going to be takes place, that liquid particle is going to be converted into the gases or vapors, and finally there is a formation of condensation. And then the clouds are is going to be moving along with the wind direction, and when it is going to be moved towards the wind direction, the small wind clouds are is going to be clubbed together, and finally there is a formation of huge clouds. And generally what is happen, there is a two types of clouds, negative clouds and positive clouds is there. Then how can we identify negative clouds and positive clouds here? So if it is in the darkest mode, then we can call it as there is a negative clouds, and positive clouds means it is having some white nature, the density is very less, so that we can call it as a positive cloud. So that anyhow it's moving along with the wind direction, and then when it is then density is going to be more. And then finally what is happen, you got precipitation, or there is a different types of precipitation you are getting from the clouds. There is a rain you getting, and snowfall and fog and hail, so drizzle. So likewise various forms of the precipitation is going to be fall down through clouds, and then it is from the clouds, and it is reaches to the ground surface. And then what is happened, the certain amount of the water is going to be created a runoff, that is we can call it as a surface runoff. But whenever the water body is going to be touches that ground surface, and a certain amount of the water is going to be infiltrated and then into the soil, we can call it as an infiltration. And then due to the gravitational forces and geological structures of the soil, we are going to be get that the water is going to be traveled within the bodies. We can call it as a percolation. And then we have two types of runoffs are there. So there is a subsurface runoff and surface runoff. Surface runoff is nothing but the water is going to be traveled on the air surface. We can call it as a surface runoff. The surface runoff water is going to be created in a ponds, lakes, what are the water bodies we are seeing on the air surface is going to be created. And then finally what is in a water is going to be created in a subsurface runoff is creating a water table within the earth cloud. And then what is happened, then after formation of the water table, and it is going to be moving towards downward directions, then finally it is also going to be reaching through oceans. But what is happened during this, it going to be sometimes it going to be stored, or sometimes it's going to be traveled, and then we can call it as it's a movement or distribution of the groundwater. Because of internal pressure or more amount of the water is there in that, we can call it as there is more distribution of the water is going to be takes place. And then here I want to discuss about that what are the components here. I want to justify it. That first one is an evaporation, and next one is an evapotranspiration, and next one is an transpiration. And then after that there is a cloud formations, and then after cloud formations there is a precipitation, and then after precipitation it may create a surface runoff, and then infiltration and the percolation. I want to one more time explain about this infiltration and percolation. So here with an example, so here infiltration. So actually you got a rainwater or precipitation from the atmosphere. It's going to be fall down on the earth surface, because because of the gravitational forces it's going to be fall down. And then whenever it is touches the ground body and it is having a pervious strata, slowly the water is going to be entered into the within the earth crust, and then we can call it as an infiltration. And then after infiltrated water, and because of the gravitational force itself, and it's going to be travel through pores of the earth crust, and it's going to be reaches to the water table, we can call it as there is percolation. That means what is the difference here? That means entrance of the water into the first starting entrance of the water into the earth surface, within the earth surface, we can call it as an infiltration. But after infiltration, that what is the water is there infiltrated is going to be percolated, or is going to be passing through the earth crust and reaches to the groundwater table, we can call it as a percolation. Likewise, what is happened, this infiltration and percolation is going to be created a subsurface runoff, and then finally it's going to be reaches to the oceans itself, and then again what is happened, it's going to be reaches to the again the cycle is going to be done continuously without any disturbance in there in the hydrological cycle. We are going to be getting a droughts likewise. And now what is happened, it's based on the surface runoff or subsurface runoff is going to be takes place based on what, based on the that aquifers. Generally the ground is going to be classified maybe to majorly there is a two types. There is so many types are there, but majorly the two types, that is confined aquifer and unconfined aquifer. Unconfined aquifer means the water which is flows through there is a two impermeable stratas, then we can call it as a confined aquifer. Unconfined aquifer means the water which is passing through that pervious medium or which is flowing through that, we can call it as there is unconfined aquifer. That means if it is an unconfined aquifers are existed, there is a lot of amount of the water is going to be stored at that locations, and you had any more probability to get the more amount of the water at that locations. And then if it is an unconfined aquifers, you got any less amount of the water is going to be there in that, and then when compared to the unconfined aquifer, that means I want to say justify unconfined means unlimited, confined means limited, so that amount of the water. So I will give the one example. If it is in a sandy soils are existed, then we can call it as it is an unconfined aquifer, because it may containing the voids, and it may containing the lot of voids, so that the water is going to be infiltrated very easily and percolated very easily, got a more amount of source of water is there. So likewise, what is happen, there is similarly, if it is in an unconfined rocky strata is there, if it is in a rocky strata is there, the water, more amount of the water is may creating the surface runoff only, because it is not going to be allow the water through that, because there is no infiltration is going to be takes place, there is no percolation is going to be takes place. Likewise, what is happened, so here there is a problem with that base type of the soil which is existed in that location. So likewise, what is happened, that storage amount of the water, distribution of the water is going to be based on the types of the aquifers, and this is going to be leads that flow of water. So likewise, it may containing the lot of things are going to be there here. So now you see your figure, if you observe the figure, that I want to start with that figure if it is in a ocean, because why I am taking the ocean here, because even though if it is not in a ocean, even though lakes or rivers also, the water is going to be evaporated, but what is happened, the more amount of the water is going to be evaporated from the oceans. That's why I am taking the ocean as an example, that water going to be evaporated. How the water is going to be evaporated, there is a sun energy. Sun energy is, that is a solar energy. So sun energy is going to be touches the water body, and then boiling point of the water, it is in 100 degrees Celsius and in 100 degrees Celsius, the water is going to be converted into their state from liquid to gaseous or liquid to vapor. And then what is happen, because of the sun energy, that water is going to be evaporated, and then after that water is going to be evaporated, and it's going to be travel to the highest elevation because of the less density, and then finally what is happen, there is the liquid particles, and the liquid particle is going to be created, and slowly there is a charging between that one particle to another particle, the attraction is going to be created, and condensation is going to be created. Okay, and then next if you see that there is that evaporation from the soil here in this figure. So evaporation means if the soil is having the wet condition also, the water is going to be evaporated. Even though if it is in a dry condition also, there is a certain amount of the water is evaporated. I will going to be explain if it is in a dry soil. So if it is in a dry soil is there, so definitely if it is in a dry soil is there, there is a lot of cracks is going to be formed, and it is the cracks are is going to be propagated and reaches to the water table. And then what is happen, the sun energy is going to be entered through these cracks and reaches to the water table, and even the water table water is also going to be evaporated, and it is finally reaches to the atmosphere and form the condensation. And leaves, every morning you got a lot of precipitation, that lot of water is going to be held by the leaves of trees, and then from the leaves of trees what is happen, the more amount of the water is going to be evaporated, because the sun energy is entered on the that water on the leaves, and finally what is happen, you got that evapotranspiration. So likewise, that transpiration, evaporation, evapotranspiration, and transpiration is going to be takes place, and then what is happen, you got a condensation, and then later precipitation. There is a rain. Precipitation means a lot of rainfall, snowfall, everything is there, the drizzle, okay, and then so snow hails, okay, and likewise ice droplets. So in the northern areas you got a more amount of snowfall is going to be takes place. Likewise, the cycle is going to be occurred continuously, then only you got any water sources in the atmosphere. Otherwise this cycle is going to be disturbed, it may creating this problem for the human, because it may leads to creating a droughts and in that world. So that what is happening, we are going to be facing the problems. If more hydrological is going to be takes place, and then you got any more amount of chances to get the more amount of the rainfall at that locations. And thank you so much. I would like to end the sessions. You have any doubts regarding, then you can just keep a message so that I will explain in the classroom. Thank you.